Good to go. Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just for the record, I will note that this is a special meeting of the Pompey Town Board being held in person at the Town Hall, but we are also live streaming it through Zoom and Facebook. The meeting was originally scheduled primarily for the purpose of having a workshop where this board can look at our funding opportunities that we have at the moment on the table and consider how to best use those funds for the benefit of the town. So that's primarily what we're going to do. It will be an informal work session with the town board and our bookkeeper. I would note for the record that Nikki Reed, our town clerk, is here at the end of the table. Myself, Renee Rotundo, the town supervisor, Ann Christmas, town councilor, Judy McElhannon, town councilor, Sheila Larkin, town councilor, and Carl Dennis, town councilor, as well as Tom Chartrand, bookkeeper, and code enforcement officer, Bob Rodriguez. That's what, any other housekeeping things? I think that's it. We do have a couple of other matters that we added to the agenda, given they were time sensitive, and we wanted to address them tonight rather than wait next week for our regular board meeting. So the first thing on the agenda is payment of bills.
I'll make a motion that we approve the payment of the bills.
Second.
Ann made a motion and Carl seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, I'll give you a short summary of what's been going on with the code enforcement officer position. As everyone here knows, and many of you, anybody watching might know, our code enforcement officer, Bob Rodriguez, who's been with us for over 1.5 years, has put in his resignation. So we started a search beginning of last month or so, and had 4 applicants apply. And I was very much blessed to have our zoning board of appeals chair volunteer to help me with the screening process with the applicants, which we did, interviewed those that we felt were worthy of an interview, and have made a decision. I've spoken to Sue Smith as well, the planning board chair, and she's been, while not part of our process, she's been kept apprised, as both the zoning board and the planning board will be mostly the ones working with the code officer. So, and Nikki Reed. So with that said, I think all of you have gotten, not tonight necessarily, but in the past, the resumes and information of the applicants. And both Dave Tessier and I are recommending that this board appoint Timothy Gainey to the position of code enforcement officer to replace Bob Rodriguez. He comes with a boatload of qualifications. He currently works at the Dormitory Authority for New York State doing code enforcement. He is a code enforcement officer in the town of Brutus. He has held numerous municipal positions in municipal government, from mayor, town board, town councilor, as well as others. Without his resume in front of him, I can't tell you all of the others. He has also been, he's involved with fire safety, EMTs. He's worked for Sonia Oswego at security, fire safe fire. And his certificates of training are about this thick. So he is also New York State code enforcement certified, which was a prereq for this job, because we wanted to make sure that somebody competent, qualified, experienced is taking over for Bob, who has done an amazing job for us. So I would wholeheartedly move to appoint Tim Gainey to the position of Code Enforcement Officer.
I'll second it.
Judy beat me to it,
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
Judy seconded it. Any discussion from the board?
So we're just placing him into the position at the same rate of pay and everything is the same right now.
For the time being,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Any other discussion?
No, I think
All
he's
those
so
in-
qualified.
Me too. Yeah. So any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Welcome
Welcome.
to the,
I won't disappoint you, trust me.
thank you.
Oh.
That's so reassuring to hear. I think we will,
Everything.
we will work on transition so that you and Bob will overlap. We will work with Tom to make sure we have that covered. So that, and then what I did say to Tim is, because the job was posted as salary commensurate with experience, that at budget time, he is free to request. He will be given the budget
Yes, you'll get a
Tom.
budget request form.
and he can fill it out, and whether he works with Bob on that or with you, or maybe both of you. And then we'll take up 2022's budget going forward, but welcome to the team. Really happy to have you.
Look forward to it.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your resume is gorgeous.
It's outstanding.
Okay.
So,
Anybody have any questions for me?
Not yet.
I told him before the meeting started that I've been especially going around town lately for whatever reasons at various places. And I keep finding things that I said, well, that's for Tim. And Tim's gonna have to take care of that. And there's another thing that I'm gonna have to mention to Tim. So I think you will find that we'll keep you busy.
Sure.
But it's all good. The one thing that impressed me, I have to say, and then we'll move on, is that he enforces the code.
Yes.
Novel, but not, Bob did too, but I mean, that's huge. Don't put zoning is enforced on the town of Pompey road signs if we're not going to enforce the code. So, and he will do it with grace and coming alongside people. It's not going to be strong arming people, but, so it's all good, I think. And thank you for
It's an
applying the
educational
interest.
process, that's all.
Yeah.
We don't come in there with both guns a-blazing.
Doesn't really help anything.
Educate 'em and we give them a chance, trust me.
Okay, you are free to stay or go.
I'd love to.
Well, you might want to stay for the next situation because I guarantee you will probably be inheriting it. Now that I think about it, you might want to just sit right there for about another 5 to 10 minutes. So the next thing on the agenda is the issue of the unsafe building on the Cherry Street property. You all should have gotten from Bob. Mine. On the property, along with pictures attached to the report. It's a one-page report, and then the pictures, I don't know, there's probably at least a dozen 8-color pictures that really show the condition of the property as described in the report. I also gave the board, because Tim, our town attorney, had another commitment tonight since it was an off night for town board meetings, a copy of the town code regarding unsafe buildings. And the requirement that the code enforcement officer files this kind of a report with the town board, make a recommendation for what he believes needs to be done. And then based on that recommendation, the town board then can decide whether or not they would order this building to be declared, or these structures, actually, it's more than one building, to be declared unsafe and in need of either repair, if possible, or demolition. Bob has recommended that the structures be declared unsafe. and that we take whatever action we deem appropriate in accordance with Article 69, Section 6 of our town code, which is the section that gives us authority to pass a resolution regarding this. So would the board like some discussion on this? This is the Chrysler property located at 7364 Cherry Street in Pompey. It's the old, some people refer to it as the Longhouse. Some people refer to it as the old governor's house because I think the New York State governor lived there,
He was born there,
born there.
not lived in that house. The house was
Okay.
constructed after.
Okay.
He was-
So it's an unfortunate circumstance that we're at this point with the house. What will happen if the board does determine that it should be declared unsafe is that we issue an order saying that it needs to be secured and repaired or demolished and removed. And that order then has to be served by our code enforcement officer, Mr. Chrysler. And within 5 days of that service, he has to appear for a public hearing before the town board. So we put this on tonight because then we could do this on August 2nd. So Bob could serve him tomorrow or Wednesday, and that would be giving him 5 days notice of the hearing, and he can come before us to discuss how he would like to proceed, if he can proceed.
When
So-
we spoke at the last meeting, I believe we said maybe we were gonna reach out to him. Somebody was gonna try to reach out to him. Did we do
I
that?
have not reached out to him. No.
Okay, and then is this a historic site?
Not that we
It's not?
know of, we can't find any evidence of that. I will keep looking. It's early in the process. He will have literally from the time of the public hearing, he will have 30 days to commence work on, if he wants to try and restore the building, and then 60 days to do it. So you
Okay.
have a total of almost 90 days. So we have some time to look into that.
Okay,
When you
I mean,
Google it says that the governor was born at that location. Where he was born has been destroyed, and it is just where the governor of New York State was, one of the governors, Seymour,
Seymour.
was born at that
I was gonna
location.
say which governor?
Yeah, we thought about that, whether it was considered historic property, but it's
I've
not
looked it up
listed.
and I can't
He
find
You
it.
can't
did
find
try to get,
anything?
No.
he did try to get the historical society to give him information on it. They could not come up with anything, from what I
Okay.
understand.
Okay. There is one of those New York State blue and yellow signs about, as though there's something of historic value there, but
I took a
Would the-
picture of it last night.
Yeah, would the county know anything, or like who put that sign there? Did we put that sign there? I guess. I'm
we
just
can look into
fishing.
it.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. I
Like
mean, I
for
think,
funding maybe or something.
Yeah,
think
I
it's-
I'll send you what's in the history book on it. I
Okay.
Found it, and it's very
Maybe
clear
it's
that it was
too
just the
heavy.
location. It
Not
wasn't-
the actual.
not the
House or
house.
anything.
Okay.
Okay,
And unfortunately, when you look at the condition of the house.
Yeah.
So sad.
I didn't
I mean-
go inside. I was not going to venture inside.
no,
The outside of the house is, there's areas
Oh, I
that
see.
totally collapsed, that on the back of the structure, the foundation is crumbling or caved in.
yeah.
There's windows.
I guess
that-
not even that, not that, you know, but structurally I understand, but if it was a historical site, could he get some funding to?
I think he already looked into it.
He did.
5-6 years.
Yeah,
I
and
understand he can't get any funding for
Okay.
anything on there to do
Okay.
anything with it.
And I think what we need to do is get him here and see where he's
Yeah,
at with everything, and then go from there and hear from the public as well. We've had a lot of concerns about that property.
Yeah.
From people in the hamlet, so I think it's time to address it.
And nothing has been done up there in over a month. I go by there several times every day
It's been almost 2 months since he's done anything.
since he's
there.
done anything.
This is not the first time we've been through this project. The town board has been through this process.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'll make a motion to adopt that resolution.
Yeah, and the let me just, okay,
like
and
that.
so discussion would be that the resolution would declare that the property is unsafe and dangerous. And it would further declare that the structures are ordered to be secured and repaired if the same can be safely done in the judgment of the code enforcement officer, or demolished and removed that a public hearing to address this matter is scheduled for Monday, August 2nd at 6:35 PM, and that notice will be given to the owner of the property pursuant to our town code. And with at least 5 days notice of the hearing. So Ann made the motion and Judy seconded. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so Bob, I did a draft of the order.
Yep.
You just need to put the town seal on it, your seal on it.
Yep.
And then serve him by Wednesday. We're good with
Does it
that?
have to be personal service related?
It's in accordance with the provisions of Article 69(8), and it requires that personal service of a copy on the owner, and then other, like if it's an
So
estate,
it's
an
both him and
executor.
his wife need to be served, Donnie and Linda?
Are they both owners?
I believe they are. I think. Let me
I
look
don't,
that up.
I think you should look that up because that's not how the
That's-
report reads. It was
that's-
read as he was the owner.
I'll look it up.
But then also a copy of the notice that you serve, the order that you serve on him, Bob, needs to be filed in the office of the clerk, the county clerk. So I don't know if Nikki could help you with that. Filing it in county court, county clerk's office, or if that's just,
Okay.
but that's,
Donald and Linda Chrysler both are on the,
okay, well. Bob, if, I would just think that we should amend both the report and the resolution we just passed to reflect that, because I think they both only have him as the owner, so,
according to the county records, it's
yeah. So I would move to amend the report of the code enforcement officer as to the owner to be Donald and Linda Chrysler. Same address, as well as the resolution on page 2 at the first whereas paragraph. Again, to have it reflect that it is both Donald and Linda Chrysler that are the owners. Anybody second that motion?
I second those, yeah.
Dan seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. So I just want to make sure that we do this by the book, yeah. So. Okay, so. Did everybody bring their homework, so to speak, with them? The blue colored chart was something I just made up because I'm a visual person. It's easier for me to see things than to try and conceptualize them, but the 2-page legal document here, we're going to move into, by the way, the workshop on funding on revenue. The 2-page document is meant to show all of the revenue sources that we currently have. These are non-taxpayer dollar revenue sources. Some of them we've already got commitments for and applications in, but I think because they move forward with us and we're in the pending stages with some of their in progress, it's important to have them on this list. I did not put the CNY Community Foundation $5,000 grant on here or the County Highway $25,000 grant for the speed readers because one of them we haven't gotten the money for yet. Still waiting for the intermunicipal agreement. But those are one-shot deals and so we're not going to be considering them moving forward. So really the second page is of greatest significance. And if you want, I can give you my little short summary on each one of these. And then I would like this board to feel free for us to have a discussion as to what I tried to do with the columns was have the source of the revenue, how much funding is available. If it says maximum, that means we can get up to that amount. That doesn't necessarily mean we will. If it says firm, that means that's what we're getting. Then the application deadline, if there's a couple dashes, that means there is not one. It's like sort of a rolling ongoing funding offer. The eligible uses, what we can use money for. The proposal section, that's what we're gonna be talking about. And the selected projects section, again, what we should be trying to narrow down. Again, some of them have already been figured out, but the JCAP money for this year, we haven't done anything with, so it's still to be determined when that we can apply for that. We'll have to talk to the judges about that. Has
It's
anybody,
coming up pretty soon.
I know.
Other judges have already asked for it.
I've been wondering.
Filled out the thing?
Well, they've already come to the town board to get the resolution because they have to have a resolution with
that's-
specific wording stating that the town board approves them to apply.
I'm gonna add that to August.
Because I think it's the first part of August that usually came out.
Some of my other towns have already had the board approved.
Yeah, I think that we should do that in August, just in anticipation that we'll want to apply, and that way that'll
I
be
think the
done.
dates were in the folder I gave you, the JCAP folder I gave you.
Yeah, but does it change every year? Do you know?
Just by a few days,
Yeah.
it's normally
It's
the
not-
same
Yeah,
time
it's
frame.
always the
Okay.
same time of year.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a note to make sure we put that on.
Yeah.
this agenda. So it's just to finish the counts, the date we applied, so again, some of these we haven't applied yet, but some of them we have. What the status of the application is, and then what the award amount is. And again, if there's a couple dashes next to it, it's because we already know that, for instance, the state aid to municipalities, the SAM money is a $400,000 firm amount. Same with multimodal, it's $100,000 firm. So we know what the award is gonna be. We just gotta get through the state process of getting to the money. So I think we should concentrate on the second page, because that's where we've got to figure out. We've got 4 categories of funding that are available to us. The county ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act money that the county has offered to towns and villages, and the county mainstream monies have very soon deadlines. So I was at a meeting today of the county supervisors in the town of Clay, and the county was there to discuss these because all the towns are a little bit concerned with the quickness with which we were apprised of this relative to the deadline, which is basically less than a month. So both of these are going to be extended, the deadlines. County ARPA is probably going to be extended for just 2 weeks. But that is clear, and that's clearly probably the easiest of the applications to complete. But
2 weeks
but
from now,
2 weeks from the deadline, which is July 31st.
okay.
See
Oh,
that
the
deadline?
county
So
ARPA.
the county is
Okay.
saying they
Yep,
will
yep.
probably be able to extend it 2 weeks, but not much more.
Okay,
The county Main Street grant is the deadline right now is August 13th. Basically, we pushed them to extend it as long as they could, and I will explain why in a minute, because that grant takes a lot of work if we want to apply for it. Because we have to work with businesses. It's really the businesses that will benefit and get the funds. So I guess, do you want me to just start at the top and go down, or do you want to start with the ones that we need to act on sooner rather than later? And I will tell you that we did get half of our ARPA money,
okay.
$373,000 and change sitting in our bank account now. So we do, but we also need to be very, I think, discerning about how we choose to spend that money. That's a lot of money. That's half of the amount. We're going to get the other half 12 months from now. So, and that money has 4 subcategories, and they all have preconditions.
Okay, wait,
And
so 373 now and 373 in 12 months.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'm, the thing I've been wrestling with, so this is, and what do, we have a lot of need, Tom, and this town does. But what's the best funding stream to use for the needs that we have? Because we don't want to, the thing I don't want to do with ARPA is waste the money.
Right.
You know, if we can get it, if there's another place that, I mean, like the county has ARPA money, 92 million or something. They've put 2 million towards capital improvements in the towns and villages. So
To
that's gonna
the
be
town facilities and.
2 million for, yeah.
Okay.
So things like renovation or additions, construction projects, the roof on the highway garage. You know, and but they want us to come up with what they consider a local share. The more, if the applications that, you don't have to, but the applications that include a local share, which can be our ARPA money, doesn't have to be out of the general, you know, our taxpayer money, it can be out of ARPA. But if we come up with a portion of that, we're likely to be more successful because they want to share the cost.
Do we have to pay tax on this money?
No,
Okay.
no, not a bad question.
But
No.
if we, the ARPA money,
Never a bad question.
if we spend it improperly, after we spent it and we submit our paperwork, and they can deny us that money, and then it would come out of local taxpayer money. So you have to be very careful with ARPA money.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the impression I got from the Association of Towns was as long as you're not doing something completely out in left field as far as what's allowable, it's more than likely that whatever you spend your money on is going to be acceptable. But there is that risk because they're not giving us, they won't give you a pre-approval. So they're not gonna, we can't go to the
Okay.
treasury or the state or any place and say, we'd like to spend it on this with this.
Is that okay?
Is it all right? So they're leaving it up to us to spend it within the categories that are available with the preconditions that are available, and we'll run through those. I also want to tell this board, I'm not planning to make this a marathon tonight. I think we need to get a discussion out on all of this, and everybody needs to absorb this. This is a lot of information. I've been looking at it for a while, but it is overwhelming at times to try and figure out. We have a lot of money sitting on the table that are not taxpayer dollars from the town. They're taxpayer dollars. And that's the other piece I'm really aware of, is that somebody's paying for this.
Right.
Might be spread across the country, but still somebody's paying for it. So I just think we need to be mindful of that and responsible about what we think. I mean, I have a laundry list that I can share with you at some point of the things I think. We put that, whatever that thing is called over there, easel with the flip chart on it, because I think that we might want to start a list.
Well, yeah, that's why we're here.
Yes.
Let's go.
But I want you also to understand what can be done where, with what money. So I will tell you that let's start at the top. It'll just be easier for me, I think. Sewer consolidation lease, that's the county lease we entered into last year. They took over our sewer lines in the northern town, so we no longer have sewer districts. So that within that agreement, there were two provisions, alternative provisions. One, if you had debt in your sewer districts, and most towns are all sewer, then the county would pick up $200,000 worth of your debt. If you were debt-free in your sewer districts, sewer systems, which we are, they would give us $200,000 toward a green infrastructure project. Green infrastructure, I have come to realize, doesn't mean nearly what I thought it meant, according to Water and Environmental Protection Agency with the county. So we have been back and forth with them. I proposed several projects, which I listed there under, the proposals. We proposed that perhaps we could put the money towards the oil and water separator that we need, but because it affects water, groundwater, we considered a green project as the highway garage roof if we wanted. Trying to talk Tom into either solar panels once we get it fixed or a roof garden, but it's really not the kind of green infrastructure that the county was thinking of. The preserved drainage repair project, we went back and forth on that. They didn't think that that was really a good fit. And then the last one was replacing the furnaces in the town hall. Again, that's not what they consider green infrastructure. For water and environmental protection, they're really looking at water, it seems to me. So after they came back to us with a proposal for a project that made absolutely no sense. I ran it by Tom. Did I talked to you about it? Sump pump relocation.
No, I didn't hear about
Yes,
that.
sump pump relocation. So we would have to inventory where the sump pumps are, which means knocking on the doors of all the people that were in the sewer districts, finding out if they have sump pumps, and if so, would they tell us where they are? And then we could try and relocate them away from the sewer lines to run into the stormwater drainage system. But they already do that. That's not really an issue, and it was a wasted project as far as I was concerned. So I went to Dave Knapp and explained to him what had been going on, the back and forth. And he had a meeting with them, and the next thing I know, they're talking about the preserved drainage project as suitable for that money. So we do have some money for it already set aside for that project, but it could be offset with county sewer district money.
Was this, so this sewer consolidation lease, was that part of our meeting in April on the 5th?
With,
When they came out here?
no,
So this is
That-
totally separate.
no. That was as a result of the provisions in that lease.
Okay,
The
Last
provisions
year.
in that lease, which I've never forgotten, because there's $200,000 sitting there. The provisions in that lease resulted in me sending them a letter proposing these 4 bulleted items.
from that meeting
That meeting then resulted from my letter.
Got it.
And
Okay,
then we sat down and they went through this, and they weren't really fans of any of the things we had proposed.
right.
They said they'd get back to us. They got back to me and said, how about a sump pump relocation project?
Okay,
And I went to Dave Knapp and said, we don't need a sump pump relocation project. We need, I said, I don't know which one of these water-related projects would be suitable, but it
Mhm.
just seems to me that they're so narrowly defining this, that they're really limiting our ability to use that money. So he was very helpful in
Sure.
meeting with them, and it seeming to have some change of attitude. Because last week, our town engineer, Steve Snell, got in touch with them because they were talking over my head. They were talking engineering stuff, and I said to WEP, please talk to Steve Snell. So they they met, or they talked, and the next thing I know, Steve is telling me that he thinks we have a like something that we can all work on.
okay,
And that would be great,
Yeah.
because we could almost also perhaps avoid bonding for the rest of that project, which we were thinking we might have to do. We'll see.
Good.
It's still in the works, but that money, that's a possible use of that money that wasn't
I like that.
available back in April. And kudos to Dave for helping us. I'm not letting go of that money. We're gonna use it somehow. So, because that's an expensive project, what needs to be done there.
Mhm.
So, and I did speak with the homeowners association up there. They want it done because they've been waiting. But if it means another year to get it completely done, offset it, but they don't have to bond for it and have it be paying for it long term.
Right.
They're willing to, that's acceptable to them. They'd be
That's
satisfied.
great.
so let's say we did that. What about the infrastructure of the water up here? Could that fall under something else in here? Okay, so,
ARPA,
okay,
health.
all right, so.
ARPA is so about health.
If we can do the
Great.
preserved drainage repair, that's fantastic.
ARPA for water and for our HVAC, our heat pumps.
Okay,
So, and the money is sitting in the account.
okay,
So some of it might be spent sooner rather than later, but there's still a chunk of it. So
Okay.
so sewer consolidation, lease, circle preserve drainage repair with a question mark, because that's the possible use of that money. And it might not use all of it. Because how much have we got in that? It was like 70?
Yeah, I think it was 50, but the engineers have been using it, so.
Yeah.
We covered it. Wasn't sure what you're gonna ask me, so I just brought all the databases with me.
So what's the deadline for that, for you to?
ARPA?
to-
Or I mean,
Sewer.
there's no
There's no
deadline.
deadline, so that's what that.
I think we have to spend the money.
ARPA
within-
deadline?
No,
No,
sewer.
sewer
Yeah, I don't remember
consolidation.
seeing anything. in
There's
the
no
I
document.
think it's within 5 years of when we sign the
Okay.
lease,
so
I
we have to
think.
use it.
So the preserve right now had 69,000, but I know we had a couple thousand in
Yeah.
engineering this month, so we're probably around, I'd say 65 is a conservative number, and
Yeah.
it seems like they needed close to 200 to do all of the
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah, so I mean, we might not, I don't know if it's a one project only, or if we can use 200,000 with something out for
A
something
total
else as
of-
well, but for now, I'm hopeful, no guarantees, but hopeful that we can use that money. And it makes sense because they're in the special districts, and that's where they're
Mhm.
concentrating the work.
Well, that's where the sewer problems are,
Yeah.
so this will
Right.
actually should help them with the
Yeah.
sewer problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. okay, ARPA, let's talk about ARPA. That's the total for the town is going to be $743,000, $220,000. Did I say that right? $220,000. Big number, half of it right now. So the 4 categories that money can go towards, and I think this is a conversation in depth for another time. So because I think there's a lot here. Is public health expenditures is one category is odd. They put it, public health expenditures or negative economic impacts that have due to COVID. So,
It's basically lost revenue, and we really didn't have that problem. Our revenues actually went up. We might be able to prove that they didn't go up as much as they'll allow, but it's like a 4% is the cap. So I have another training course on it next
Good.
Tuesday, so
I was,
hopefully I'll learn a little bit more. Every week I get a new one of these packets, and I have to read through it and try to determine what the current rules and regs are. Now, there are companies that are specializing in this, and they will charge you a fee to help you administer it and tell you if your program is eligible or not.
and I've already been approached and already spoken with the company just to get an idea of what it was what services they're offering. And I can share that with the board. I think it might be a little premature. Yeah, I got one of those too.
I just got it today in the
Me too,
mail and I
me
was
too.
kind of poking through it, but this whole thing this month explains everything we're
Yeah.
talking about. so.
And it's timely because really, we have until December of 2024
To make a decision
To
how to
commit.
spend it.
to the money. We have an additional 2 years
to
to
spend it.
actually spend it. So we have 5 years. So that amount of money, a one-time opportunity, we should really be figuring out how best to decide how to spend it. And I literally mean that. How do we best decide how to spend that? So is it, we figure it out among ourselves? Do we involve, I was hoping there might be some input. I don't know if people are on Zoom or Facebook but I know that John Shaheen, at least, he's always.
He's on Zoom.
Yeah. So, but I really think we need to to be very responsible about how we spend this money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money.
So your first item under your sewer thing there, the oil and water separator, under the categories of eligible products includes construction of publicly owned treatment works, non-point source pollution management, national estuary program projects, stormwater systems, and water conservation. So our oil and water separator may fit into that. And that may be a good use for part of that.
Yeah.
Garage roof, I don't see any way that really falls under anything in the,
Well, it would if we had lost revenue. I think we could have, that category is so broad for how you can use that money that if we could
Oh, yeah.
show lost revenue, then we would be able to use it for government services and that it would have fit for that.
I originally thought we were gonna get the 20% of the chips to be able to qualify for this money, but the state decided to reimburse us for that.
Did they reimburse all to all?
All
20?
20%. Yep, on all 3 programs.
Yeah, and the thing is that you have to aggregate your lost revenue. You can't, yes, we've had a windfall with mortgage tax. Would be nice to say, oh, we're not gonna count that, but we have, but you have to count it even though we might have had a loss somewhere else. So you have to aggregate it. So we might not be able to use that category. But, and I was going to task you, Tom, with doing the numbers on that. to
Well,
compare
that's part of the
2019.
training next week is to show you exactly how to do it.
Okay,
So hopefully they're gonna be doing that.
okay. Category 4, Sheila, just so you know, with the invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure, that could be the water for the town hall,
Oh, that'd be great.
to try and do something with
Yeah,
the water. Tom has, I asked
Maybe.
Tom,
maybe.
he said it's been, it's better down in, with the system in down there.
So the water
Maybe?
system has to meet.
Oh, the federal.
There are
requirement.
stipulations, so in order for a water and sewer project, they have to meet the EPA drinking water and clean water state revolving funds categories. So somebody would have to get into that program and see whether a private well would actually meet that kind of thing. Normally, the stuff that's in the EPA and the Clean Water Revolving Act are municipal
Water system.
water systems, like you would find in a village or countywide.
So we don't have a municipal water system and we struggle with good, clean drinking water. And this money won't go towards that infrastructure issue.
There is something in there, I think I read, that you could do it for private citizens with wells that are damaged, but I couldn't find anything that really crossed to town-owned water systems.
Includes projects like construct, improve, repair wastewater treatment plants, improve resiliency of infrastructure, replace lead service line, install or replace treatment and distribution systems, cybersecurity for systems.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's an abbreviated one.
Yeah,
yeah. Just FYI, the things we can't use it for, pensions, paying down debt, returning money to the taxpayers by reducing our tax rate.
Yeah, we
that
can't-
makes sense. though,
Yeah,
you
can't do
know,
that.
Yeah.
Just so.
Now, the
we're-
furnace, I think, would definitely qualify for under the ARPA. As long as we put in the proper filter system. So it's got to be the filter systems that remove the COVID type germs from your air system.
Okay. So that's that category 1 where I said public health expenditures.
Yeah.
We could, our cleaning service, if we want it to be an enhanced cleaning service for the town hall can be covered by this. And same with the HVAC system and, you know what though, how about like healthy drinking water under public health?
I could not find anything to relate to.
But it seems like it might not fit in, this is one of the things they told us, it might not fit in one category, something you need, but it might fit in another. And to me, having drinking water that
Water.
is like a
Pretty
public
vital.
health issue.
Yeah.
So you didn't find it at all listed anywhere?
I didn't find anything that said municipal buildings could improve their water systems, but you got to remember, the federal government looks at this, that everybody lives in a city and they're on a public water system.
Well, but they're saying that we can improve our ventilation system.
Yeah, because that's not controlled by an outside source such as a city or county or a water system or sewer system.
That's the area you're
It's
breathing.
crazy.
It is.
I suppose. it's
Well,
because
I don't, as I
you
said,
choose not to
we
drink
can,
water, But you can't, you have to breathe the air.
I think
Right.
at some
Well, and we
point,
would control that in a
Right.
normal situation.
Right, exactly.
at some point, we are going to dive deep into ARPA, just not tonight, because I think there's,
Sure.
I think we can get really creative and Tom can shoot us down, but we can shoot Tom down. We'll go back
Guys are
and
the ones that are gonna be there when
I know.
when they say you can't
I know.
really do that.
But, but this, I mean, the highway has so many needs. That's the other thing that I don't want us to lose sight of, is that there's a lot that,
It's pretty specific that it cannot be used for infrastructure except in very limited terms. But one of the things that I heard was that drainage issues are one of the areas that are related to sewer and water. So if
well,
Tom is doing some major ditching project that we need to spend money on, or, you know, we're replacing a bunch of drops or something like that, that might be something that this money would be used for.
Well, let's not hope for that. It'd be like the golf road all over again.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, but even, yeah, the Gulf Road wouldn't really qualify because it's infrastructure.
did you say the oil and water separator could be fit into one of these categories?
One of the, I did find a category that said source point pollution control, I believe was the terminology they used. I definitely think that one looks like a good contender, along with a furnace.
What
So,
if we were to do an in-floor heating project? Isn't that water? Isn't that part of, for the infrastructure for the town?
what did you say?
In-floor heating,
Heating system in
the
the
heating
concrete.
system in the concrete. What if we did it not just here, but maybe in where Tom has to bring in
This truck?
the trucks, and he had a drain where everything drained down and went into it? Who knows?
I would think
Latest
that
and
if we
greatest.
put an in-ground, an in-floor heating system in that highway garage, this probably wouldn't be enough money for it. You'd have to rip everything out and start over.
Whole brand new
Too much money.
installation of the floor.
Yep.
What about here?
We would have to strip everything out of the floors and tear it all out and put in a new one.
Which is all concrete as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
No go.
I think, you know, since it's pretty straightforward that they will cover our forced air units, as long as we put in the right kind of filters, that would probably make more sense than,
yeah.
spending it all in the town hall.
How about the other, there's two biggies for me that I was thinking about as far, and I could go into like details, but for now, I think town infrastructure, if we could figure out ways to spend some of this money on the needs of our town facilities, but also for the community beautification, like Hamlet beautification,
Definitely.
because
That didn't seem to fit anywhere though.
but see, they talk
Well,
about
tourism.
travel, tourism and hospitality, and to me, that is how you get into beautification. And small business support.
Yeah, but in order to do the small business support, you need to establish an IDA, an industrial development,
Or we use the counties.
or we can use the counties.
When we had that meeting in April, we had talked about cleaning up each hamlet, possibility of the firehouse in Pompey. Could we somehow tie it in that? The old stone store, it's running, it's up and running. And the cemeteries. I don't know, it's just food for thought, but those were things that we had highlighted. Signage for Pompey.
Yeah.
We
We're
talked
working
about
on that as
signage
we
for
speak.
Pompey.
Yeah, that would probably be covered
With ARPA money.
with ARPA money.
We've been
Yeah.
working on
That would be nice.
signage. And We also have an Eagle Scout and needs a project. So I've been talking to him about helping out in Pompey Hill with some of the work that can, it's still too early to even, I
Yeah.
told him, it's still too early. I don't know yet if there is a project, but there probably could be if, depending on what we're allowed to do up there. So,
We talked about hospitality, travel and tourism and doing a pamphlet, maybe for each business that we do have within our town.
or just a business directory
Yeah,
for the town.
That's a good idea.
That would
Yeah.
be wonderful.
yep.
Good idea.
We have to be careful because we're still under all the state rules of gifts of public funds, so we have to run that by the attorney first. Or
Okay,
you would do something that was specific to businesses.
even the.
If we ran it
signage
through the
police-
IDA, we wouldn't,
Probably not if we established an IDA or
or
County would do
use the
it.
county's IDA. We wouldn't, that would not be that wouldn't be the,
Now, there is one in here. It says, many governments saw significant increased use of parks during the pandemic that resulted in damage or increased maintenance needs. The interim final rule recognizes that decreases to a state or local government's ability to effectively administer service can constitute a negative economic impact of the pandemic. So that would mean that park stuff that we couldn't maintain during the pandemic could be repaired now with the ARPA money.
so can we call that a park in the hamlet?
I think it's got to be officially a park, but I'm not
We
sure.
don't have an official park in the county, I mean, in the town. except for
No,
the
we don't have
county
any
park.
parks.
Because so many of the other towns are putting this money towards recreation and their parks. And I mean, Skinny Atlas is, what's the new game for seniors with the wiffle
Pickleball?
pickleball? They want to use some of their money for pickleball courts. Like, what is pickleball? But, and I said to the supervisor from Skinny Atlas, I said, you guys are talking about all these like extra things. I'm just trying to get through the basics here in Pompey. I said, we don't have parks. We don't have a rec program to speak of except for our swim program. We don't have a playground. You know, we don't have those things. And I don't know how like the volunteer fire departments could benefit from this.
One of my towns is looking into whether the fire departments that lost all of their pancake breakfast,
Yeah.
for an
fundraising.
example,
Right.
The field
whether
days.
that might be a qualified expense to reimburse them for their lost revenue in that case. So one of my other towns looking into it, they haven't gotten any real answer to it either.
Fireman's field days probably wouldn't qualify.
You know, it might, if they could prove that it was a loss to their system, it might.
Well, they didn't have it because they
Couldn't have it
didn't
because of
think they
COVID.
were gonna get, this year they didn't have it either because they didn't think they could get an ABC license.
Yes.
Right.
I had another thought I wanted to ask, run by everybody, but I forgot it. Oh, I know what it is. Can we use it to repave this parking lot?
I don't know, that's on my list of things that we need to look at, but it really says that, you know, infrastructure is not part of the program unless it's actually helping health and welfare. And I'm not positive that our parking lot is dangerous enough to know health and welfare problems.
Need some more potholes.
Yeah. Twist our ankles.
Yeah.
On my list.
But I'm wondering if maybe the sewer consolidation lease, if we were to use one of those permeable pavement type things, that the runoff goes through the pavement as opposed to running off the pavement.
We talked about that a little bit in our meeting back in April.
What did he say about, what did they say?
Yep.
Were they open to that?
It did catch his interest, yes.
You would. that would split the, I mean, you mean, I don't have a clue. how
I don't think that's ARPA, but I think it might be
Sewer
sewer
consolidation.
consolidation.
Would the preserved drainage be ARPA?
I would think ARPA could be considered under, yes, because that's reducing,
That's where I'm talking about, you might not work in one category.
It will fit in.
That's,
This other-
it's very, yeah,
yeah, that would cover under the other one I was talking about earlier. then.
which is investing in water, sewer, broadband.
Right, but it said. So non-point source pollution management, national estuary programs, stormwater systems, and that's a stormwater system.
And in the preserve where we talked about it in April, their sanitary sewers are located in this wet area, so they were afraid of stormwater getting into
Right,
the manhouse, so it
so
was.
that one would probably qualify for ARPA funds.
So
And
we could
there's
maybe do
some
that one
pumps
there
are all
and put the parking lot up here.
Reverse them.
What's
Yeah.
the kind of parking lot you said, pavement, I mean?
Permeable.
Can you
Permeable.
explain that, the way that works, Tom? Do you, I've done a little research.
You put under drainage under, like, before you put the pavement down, but there's under drainage goes underneath the pavement. And then this pavement is permeable, so water goes through it. They can use concrete and blacktop is permeable.
And
It's
it's
hard to,
pretty expensive undertaking. They do it on sidewalks and it triples the cost.
yeah, it's very expensive and
The only reason I know about it is because we looked into it in the village of Teller. They really wanted to do it.
Triples the cost.
Tripled the cost of,
We have a lot of pavement here.
then you gotta be careful how you maintain it too. That means you'd have to use salt because you can't put sand on it because sand will go down and clog everything up. So
Oh, jeez.
it's,
and you
But
can't
then how
just
do they allow you to
reseal it.
use salt? Because the salt goes into,
But the salt dissolves, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it flows out in Onondaga Lake eventually,
Oh, but it goes, yeah.
and Oneida Lake.
so that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But in
Not ideal.
Manlius,
No.
that's almost all they use on all of their roads is the salt.
So it's acceptable then.
Yeah,
Okay.
for now, but I have a feeling it's gonna change in the future because up in the Adirondacks and stuff like that, they're already putting their brakes on it
They are.
for salt usage. Yeah,
mhm.
we have to monitor what we use and they want you to monitor your trucks, how much you're putting down.
Okay.
I think it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm not saying it's gonna be worse. It's probably gonna be obviously better for the environment, but they're going to come up with an alternative way of lice control. Be environmentally friendly.
Yeah, I mean, right now down where we live, they come and pre-treat it with the salt solution on the county roads. And I know that all that salt's running into the lake.
Gotcha.
We talked about the sidewalks in Delphi, Renee, I remember. Just thinking,
Yeah. I think there's part of me that wonders if, and I don't know even who it would be, if somebody who does, I don't know if it's a Dave Tessier kind of person or because he's more landscape, but
Mhm.
that is a more of a what am I trying to think of? That has some sort of
no, well,
Did you lose us?
Somehow it got lost. I don't know what happened. So we missed a little bit of that.
hospital travel and hospitality, travel and tourism was part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So what did we talk about? We said any historical site, make a list, which we already said. You know, I think signage is a big thing too, you know? We're working on.
Yep.
Agricultural was also pegged, small business loan programs, agricultural, home-based businesses, they talked about.
So this is gonna be my homework for you guys between now and the next time we go through this. I think we need to go through the IRS FAQ. Because it changes,
What can we?
yeah.
Changes every couple of
it
weeks.
changes every
Okay.
couple of weeks and that's where the questions come from all over asking, is this appropriate? Can we use this money, the money for this or for that? And you get some guidance in there and that will probably give us maybe some new ideas that we haven't thought of. Tom's probably read them twice or 3 times, right?
I read them every 2
Yeah.
weeks when I get a new one.
No, I'm just saying, you're probably right on top of it. So I'm gonna admit I'm not as on top of that, but I think there's an argument to be made for some of these projects in terms of travel, tourism and hospitality.
Mhm.
I don't think they've been very clear about what that really means.
Yes, so general economic development or workforce development. That's sort of the general economic development is not really in there, but it does say you may consider that. So it said under travel, tourism and stuff, it says, yes, provided the recipients consider the extent of the impact of such industries as compared to tourism. So
The extent of what industries?
of whatever industries you're helping with your travel and tourism funding. So if you were helping, well, we don't have a lot, but Heritage Hill, or you were helping,
The Delphi
Mall,
store
yeah.
for their ice cream store, or
Right.
the Pompey Mall, or.
Or the ice cream stand in Pompey Hill. Or,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
you know, we don't have a lot of business, but there's certainly this when we get to County Main Street, there's money there for that type of like facade improvement
Mhm.
as well, but
Mhm.
the idea of returning these towns to the hamlets to some semblance of what they used to be.
I know it.
Oh,
it would-
Springside, we said,
Yep.
Scalisi's,
Oh,
any
yeah, yeah, yeah.
farm, you know, the
Christmas tree
schoolhouse,
farms.
we were
Yeah.
talking about the schoolhouse, yeah. You know, there's. ton of people
Mapstones
that-
is up there, Science Solutions, the Kellish Auto
Yeah.
right here, the guy over there with the shed that needs to move off the corner over there, that is just blocking traffic right now as far as visibility. The Pompey Club,
Yep,
let's not forget the Pompey
Stanley,
Club.
Yep,
So, I mean,
Radway.
there's,
Dollar General.
yep,
Yeah. Lee Bukowski's, I mean, we pegged quite a few of them, but I think it's, like you said, I think it's looking at what they keep changing. I think that's probably why they're giving us until 2024, right?
Too bad there couldn't be money for the revitalization of the schoolhouse in Orange.
I know. Is there any way to, would that be a tourist?
Maybe the other thing that they talk about in here is that it has to be in a qualified census tract. In other words, it has to be in a low income census tract.
We have very little.
We don't
That may-
have a lot of that.
I don't think we have any, even Delphi that used to qualify doesn't
No.
qualify anymore.
You mean, so in order for the travel, tourism and hospitality, see, these are where the preconditions get you.
So it says, would investments improving outdoor spaces, parks be an eligible use of funds? And it says, first, in recognition of the disproportionate negative economic impacts of certain communities and populations. The rules identify certain types of services as eligible uses when provided in a qualified census tract. So in other words, you have to be helping out the disadvantaged if you're doing park improvements and that type of stuff.
I don't understand how some of these hamlets don't qualify because
either.
I just feel like they've really
It's not fair.
struggled.
It's been a long time since anything in Pompey is qualified for the community development block grants, and that's what the qualified census tract is related to. I mean, I'm not the expert on this stuff. I'm just telling you what it says.
No, but
I've read through it enough. I know where all of
Right.
these sections are.
Right. I didn't think that everything had to be tied to low income.
Only certain things
Oh,
like
certain things.
the parks and stuff. You can't put a park in the middle of Skinny Atlas, but you could put one in downtown Syracuse in a depressed area, is what that's saying in essence.
What's the number that qualifies low income?
It's something that's produced by the Census Bureau, and they show you which areas are your,
I think there's there's some way
the
to,
county has a map. And
I know David Knapp told me there's nothing in Pompey that qualifies to get any money. And that was just earlier this year, he told me that.
Yikes.
I mean. Yeah,
They basically tell you what you can't do. They don't tell you what you can do, other than
Yeah.
sewer and water and broadband. The rest of it is.
The other
what
two
you
things-
Can't do.
that we haven't mentioned at all is the premium pay to essential workers. And what is it, what's the other category about? Pay, there was another one. Oh, paying
Paying for additional services that you needed to.
base salary pay for employees responding to COVID, like police officers. Code enforcement had to work despite having COVID. The workers that had to. But I think the one thing I would say about considering base pay, and that would eat this money up really quickly.
Well, then what do you do?
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Where do you
Then
come up
what?
with that money in the future?
After.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Whereas the
that's-
premium pay is different because it's meant to be, I think it's like over and above what your normal pay is, but you get, it's some recognition for the fact that you
were
are
an
considered
essential.
as, like Nikki's an essential worker.
Right.
Really, you guys were all essential workers. Your highway definitely was essential. And you can pay them up to $13 an hour over what their normal pay was. I don't,
Except.
But I don't know how that works.
Officials can't be paid more because that's subject to
Yeah.
New York state law. So
yeah.
only hourly or appointed officials would qualify.
So, and that can go back to January of 2020.
Yes.
It could cover back.
So only hourly or appointed, okay.
Yeah, you can't give premium pay.
At least that's what the Association of Towns said.
Yeah,
Be very careful with that.
you have to pass a local law to raise our salaries, but I wouldn't be looking to do that personally, but anyway. So that's ARPA in a nutshell, which
Wow.
yeah, and that's the craziness of it, is that there's so many little like nooks and crannies in each of those categories that you really do need to parse it out and figure it out. But can we like put that to bed for today, tonight, or whatever, and we'll move on to the other two categories? Because I think it was important to look at this before we talk about the counties, because what we do here, if we do anything, might be impacted by what else you know now about these other options. So let me put my. Connor, are you finding anything that helps you? Hardly right now.
That's right.
So county ARPA. I just sat with Isabel Harris this afternoon and she told us about that. The county has set aside the $2 million. That's total for all towns and villages to compete for that money. It is to go towards capital improvements. They're not requiring a local share, but it's highly recommended and encouraged. Municipalities that offer to cover the costs for a portion of the project in local dollars, grants, or in-kind services. So if highway could help in some way with the capital improvement, and we can figure out the cost of that, and, that can be, you have a greater chance of getting funding. But it's intended to support projects that involve construction, expansion, or renovation projects in your municipality. These projects will be awarded based on the overall impact of the project to your community, including but not limited to quality of life and economic impact. So it makes me feel like it's a and it's a free for all. I mean, the application itself is not,
Maybe this is the one we should try for the well renovation for this campus.
and partly I'm thinking it's not a big project, so we're not going to be taking up a lot of the $2 million. It's absolutely essential because we can't drink the water here.
Never could.
You don't even want to wash your hands, or, in the bathroom sometimes, but, and we can offer to put some money towards it. So it would be, that would
Well, we've
benefit.
already put some money towards it.
Yes.
We've already, so.
So it would definitely, quality of life would be affected. I can't say economic impact. I don't
What is
know.
that town? 19 towns and how many villages?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there's 7 villages.
At least in there.
Yes, and some of the bigger towns that were at this meeting today already have like mega projects that they're talking about. And this is where the recreational program, some of the things came in, and I was just sitting there saying, we just have basic needs. We just like to, but we don't have, yeah, so.
So
But I wasn't convinced that this is for municipal buildings either.
I don't-
Kind of got the impression they wanted it to go more to something like a park type area or something that a lot of people use. I guess potentially a lot of people could come to the town hall, but
So.
is that this handout that you gave us? County
Yes,
Executive
yes.
McMahon
It's
announces
the-
Main Street.
it's the one.
Right,
no, Main Street's the next
Oh,
one.
no, this is
Oh.
the one on ARPA.
okay, so this is still,
There's two that came one right after the other
okay.
from the county. I'm trying to remember if they said anything about, I don't remember them excluding municipalities.
No, I don't think, it doesn't specifically say that, but I think what they'd really like to see is something out there that a lot of public can use.
So beautification of the hamlets,
That might be
but
more
County
appropriate,
Main Street,
but it's due in 2 weeks, so.
it's the ARPA is gonna be, it's 2 weeks out, yeah. So it's due in 3 weeks. But it would need, I think it's a finite, I mean, maybe you're right, the water treatment for the town hall, but I'm not sure, as you say. I can always call Marty or Isabel and run a project by them to see if it's what they're looking for. They will let you know if they think it's, if it's appropriate, because there's no point in applying for
Right.
something that they're gonna say that wouldn't be approved. And they did a lot of that today with some of the things that were thrown out.
Well, and the nice thing about the water system is we know what it costs. We just put one in the highway garage. So we have the specs for what we would need to put into this building. That
Yeah,
was our discussion, that the line, we aren't getting the untreated water where you have the treated water in the garage, right?
right. And we did get a quote for up here as well, so I do.
Yeah, we have the paperwork for that ready to go. So that would make it a little easier to hit the deadline.
What was the cost?
It was a little bit cheaper than the highway garage.
Like 5,000.
I believe it was, when we were 7, this is 5.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Good memory.
No, not usually.
Well, it says here, local share not required, but recommended.
Yeah.
Is that kind of a prerequisite?
They're just saying you have a better chance of having your project funded if you can offer that your you're going to share in the cost, whether it's in-kind services or it's directly dollars out of, and we did set aside money in our budget for this water system
Right.
at some point,
Right,
but we
No,
did,
not this year.
no, I was thinking, oh, it was last year.
It was last, well, we set aside money for the highways water system.
Yeah, that's
That
true.
was done.
Well,
We
Well,
didn't
this
set-
money is also being considered for the 2022 budget year.
right.
It's not going to be awarded before,
Oh,
so we could incorporate it into our thinking when budget
When we do
time
the
rolls
budget.
around.
Sure. A little bit of help would be better than nothing, right?
And I will ask if we can use it for municipal buildings. It was very apparent to me when I was sitting at, when I've been going through all of this with all these funding sources that we don't have parks. So we don't have pools, we don't have tennis courts, we don't have swing sets,
Playgrounds.
playgrounds, thank you. There's a lot, I mean, we have some green spaces, but we mostly have the developments in the north and then farm.
We got cows.
We got cows.
Could we ever make the Pompey Hill Fire Department somehow? You've got that kitchen up
Playground?
there, you've got the playground in the back. Can we?
Well, my understanding, who was I talking to about this recently? That the fire department, Pompey Hill, might be turning that building over to, is there a county fire? The next
There's-
level up
They've been
Fire
talking about a consolidated countywide fire district.
for like $1. They'd give them that, and then they would take over the maintenance of it, and they're thinking about extending it out to perhaps that first road that's in front of,
Mhm.
and getting rid of that road.
Mhm.
It's talk.
oh,
It's
So it'd be
just
the
talk.
county?
It's no, no.
More like a
it's-
region-
it's the
they're
next
talking
one
regional.
level up.
Regional, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
but it's long ways off.
Yeah.
Many, many years off.
I wondered who owned that little space of green in front of the firehouse because,
Well, it's about the same thing. I mean, by the time you get the right of ways gone, there isn't much usable there.
yeah, but that's a small, those right of ways there wouldn't be nearly what. Well, actually, they're on all sides, so, right.
Both sides. It's gonna be just another little triangle.
Smaller than a Pompey Hill Park.
that's
Yes.
both county on that.
So I don't know, I mean,
What about in Delphi? Like the only property down there is
That
that
corner.
one corner where the Ozark was.
right. That's a park now.
It's still privately owned though.
It is.
We never accepted it, so.
what was the deal with that? I
We
heard
don't
talk.
have, well, first off, we don't have like a Parks and Rec department to monitor it, so that's part of the problem.
Fall on highway to mow.
Well, it'll be mowing and it'd be maintaining the fences and that kind of stuff, picking up the litter.
Mhm.
Once you take responsibility for it, you're responsible for all that kind of stuff. So my other municipalities are having problems with parks with people doing naughty things at the parks.
I guess we don't have that problem.
We don't.
At least it's not on our plate. Yeah, it's a struggle to fit our needs.
Lafayette Parks budget is very large now. I mean, they have a beautiful park system over there, but the budget is getting pretty big.
We need beautification one way or another.
I
of the
agree.
planet For that little bit we have.
I agree.
Waterfalls, flowers, trees. Welcome Pompey with us.
Were you the one, Carl, that said we should get a fountain?
Yeah,
Yeah,
needs to be a fountain,
something,
water.
that and some flowering trees or
Yes.
bushes in the spring.
Yes, bring the
Um,
color up there.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, I don't want to forget about Delphi Falls because I do believe that they have some similar like concerns about like improving, giving themselves a facelift.
Is there I don't know, is there any, like up in Pompey behind the firehouse, we have that swing set and the little
That's right,
playground,
yeah.
right? Is there anything down in Delphi? Do they have that at all? They don't have.
No.
No.
Okay.
I've often looked at that land where they put the field days and wondered about it. Try and make it into, because that's big enough to make it into sort of a playground atmosphere. But
It's owned by the district.
Yeah.
so.
I know, I'm just saying.
And then the county owns.
But they don't do
Falls
any-
in
they don't use
Delphi,
it.
Right? Yeah, the county.
The county
owns it.
Madison
People use
County
that.
owns Delphi Falls.
For like a soccer game or a,
The kids are up there on the playground.
oh, yeah,
Riding their bikes.
true.
You know, the village kids do go up to the one in Pompey Hill.
So let me move on from, I'm not sure we have many thoughts about this ARPA, county ARPA. It's not a big pool of money and it's being offered to a lot of people, I mean, a lot of municipalities, but I will call Isabel and ask her about being able, just confirm that whether or not it could be used for municipal building project.
I would say specifically tell her we cannot drink the water in our town hall. I mean, hopefully she doesn't call the county health department and tell them that. But
Well, it's already out, so you're good.
Who knows who's gonna call the county?
We've always got a bubbler here, so I mean, we have potable water, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying it would be nice to have all of that stuff in place.
Okay, last but not least, and then we have to figure out what about county ARPA and county Main Street before we close the session out. But last but not least is the county Main Street. I guess the county's always had a Main Street beautification kind of thing. but
It
this
started
is-
out for the villages about 3 years ago, and the villages partnered with businesses along the main streets in the villages, and they could get like the buildings repainted, the facades repaired. Sometimes some of them could get like awnings and stuff over the sidewalk and that type of stuff. And then, so all the grants were given out in 2019 at the end of the year. And then a lot of the businesses either are no longer in business or can't afford to do their community, their sharing with it. And so a whole bunch of the funds were returned back to the county. They had to find another way to do it, something else to do with it.
So that's an interesting little nugget you just mentioned, which is businesses could not come up with their share because it's 25% match. This is the town would be a pass-through on this.
Sort of, but they also have to meet all of our procurement policies since the money's passing through us.
They told me today, no.
Okay,
They
well,
told me today that there's no prevailing wage requirement and they don't, that's what they said at this meeting. So
Well, the one that I'm
You might-
administrating in the village of Tully.
we might want to make sure that we know whether or not that's the case, because they said that the businesses are the ones that have to. But that would really, I could see that having a big effect on whether or not businesses would or could participate. Because if you can get, we were talking today at the meeting, they want a 25% match from businesses. So if the business, like you have $100,000 project, you put in 25% or 25,000, the county will put in 75. So you can have, you help me with this, Tom, if I get it wrong. So you can, I'm just gonna use Pompey Hill because it's the biggest business, if you will, district we have, Main Street kind of thing that we have. So you got the Pompey Mall, Dollar General, Sign Solutions, the ice cream stand, the Stone Store, if that qualifies as, whatever. I don't know what, like, there's a couple other things perhaps, but Mapstone. You need to network with your businesses. That's why this is going to be delayed for a longer time, because the businesses are the ones that would have to fill out one of these, as well as the town once they get them all. But you can have multiple businesses applying with different projects. But have to commit to coming up with 25% of the match, a 25% match. And then you take all of your town applicants, put them together, and then we tell them what the total is gonna be that we are requesting and what 25% of that total is for the match that the businesses have to come up with. So did I get that sort of right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it worked. It also gave the villages were able to get a little bit of community beautification themselves. So like the village of Tully replaced its entrance sign and they got some picnic tables and that type of stuff out of it. I think they got some of those dog poopy bag holder things and stuff.
So this, you can put in a application for up to $500,000. But you'd have to match it $125,000. So it's,
They'd actually pay $350,000.
yeah,
It says here you can acquire a property that is an eyesore.
yeah. I believe me, I said, so I asked them, does that mean?
Chrysler.
Does that mean that we have, so if we have businesses that want to like improve their look, so you can do facade work, the awnings or the siding or but we could also use it for demolition of an eyesore. And that could be part of your whole application for this, this hamlet area that you want to do a Main Street beautification of.
And it's in our business district. So maybe that would have some leverage. I don't know, I haven't read it fully, but if they're talking about business and acquiring a property that's a business, maybe, I don't know. I don't know how it actually reads. This
what he
is sort
said,
of vague.
Yeah, what he said today was, what you want to do is identify a cluster of businesses that have a Main Street feel. And I said to him, we have hamlets. He said, hamlets are okay. I said, we don't have any villages.
Okay.
And, some of the towns were saying, well, most of the Main Street stuff is gonna be in the villages. So the villages have more, like Tully is gonna have, Village of Tully is more either interest or likelihood of getting one of those. But because we have hamlets, we'd be able to, we would still qualify
Okay.
to be able to apply instead of, the hamlet wouldn't have to do, the town would apply
Right.
on behalf of the businesses in the hamlet,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that's my impression. I mean, our only real business district would be the Pompey Mall and the dollar store,
Right.
in essence.
Well, and that little corridor on 91, it's got a couple stores. But this really is meant to support business and it's private sector. So, it's not, the town isn't necessarily the beneficiary of the funds, but
And I think you have to take ownership of anything you're demolishing, I think I saw. Yeah, maybe that's just what I heard in the village.
How did we develop this house?
County.
The one at the
Billy Club,
corner,
the town did it and it went on their tax bill. And when they paid their county taxes, they made,
no, we did, that was the one down on Long
Yeah.
Road.
The one-
what other one did we?
No, they took the one that you're thinking about is right up as you come up the top of
Yep.
the hill and you turn
Yep.
right down
Yep.
Henbury.
Because I
That one was
remember-
taken care of, it was declared by us and the individual took care of it. The individual that owned the property took care of it.
Years ago, we demolished one in Delphi Falls. Half burned out and town took over and took that one down and we draw gravel in, didn't we, Tom?
Yes, we did.
Ray Randall lives there now.
Oh, yeah.
And that went on the tax bill. So that's what's going to happen with property that we're talking about tonight.
The Cherry Street.
Cherry Street property, if we have to take it down and demolish it, then the cost will fall back on the tax bill.
Unless we get money for it. But I don't know, do we want to do that? I mean, it'd be one thing if we owned it and
Right.
we had to take it down. It's another thing to do it.
I mean, that makes it worth it more for him to have. it
That's what I
built.
mean.
Right.
The other thing, we can use it for streetscape. And I specifically asked about that. And again, that could be the park and the hamlet, but we need to make sure where the right of ways and what we can do and what area we can work in. For
Didn't
that.
we end up with something the county said we couldn't do much within certain areas up there? When we went through that a few years ago?
Seems so.
Yeah, it seems like we couldn't.
But you got
do
the
very
state
much.
too, you get the state.
The state and the
Yeah.
county.
State, county and town road there, so.
I don't know what we can do, but I do know that money that some of this money could be used for it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what's already there is probably acceptable, or it wouldn't be there, right? I mean, the signage, that monument in the front.
Well, the monument was there before those roads probably became county and state roads. A monument, old.
1914. That's right. That's when that
Horse and buggy days.
monument was
God.
put there.
I remember.
Yeah, I mean, the sign, the announcement sign, that's,
You were there?
I mean, yeah, you might not even be able to put that announcement sign back there now, maybe too close to the road or something. I don't know.
The one for the fire department?
Yeah.
It's like less. I mean, we could move it over, but it's also less, takes up less space than the Pompey one.
Pompey one's more centered in the park.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we could relocate that one.
Yeah.
Maybe put it in the back further, like where those trees are.
What if you're thinking about Dave, which I think is a great idea as well. What if we just pulled him in a little bit, just if, he's qualifying for all of this and just got some ideas from him as well.
Dave,
Yes, here, you said,
yeah,
maybe does he know about all of this stuff? Has he?
we have our monthly check-in tomorrow. He certainly can find out about it tomorrow.
Right,
So,
right. So maybe
could.
if he delves into it a little bit, it might be helpful.
Gives us some ideas.
Yeah,
So I will talk to him and we can
Yeah.
talk about it tomorrow night.
yeah,
He was willing to take a look at the park and Pompey Hill to give me some ideas,
Mhm.
concepts. So he probably would,
yeah,
and he's a great resource,
yeah.
so I'm giving credit where credit is due and thought of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
And we have to use the people that work here.
Um,
Live here.
The one thing I'm feeling like none of this really helps highway.
Not really.
So, I mean, the one thing that might help you is if we can take some of this off of the town's plate, with funding that might free up some money that could be,
Used down there.
Because
So-
the roof is going to be very important.
that roof,
Well, the roof is a general fund expenditure, not a highway expenditure. So it doesn't come out of the.
well, I just meant
But-
like what they need, their needs, yeah. I don't know where it comes, but, so I think by next week, we need to revisit the county ARPA and the county Main Street funding and like try and see if we have some ways we want to spend that money, because especially with the ARPA money, and I will reach out and find out if we can use it for municipal buildings to see if the water treatment, it doesn't have to be a large project. It really doesn't. And if you can submit multiple projects, they might pick one of ours, but not the other,
Right.
so it's,
Has the county garage done anything? Like, could we call and find out if the county garage has asked for anything or what they have done? Do you know what I mean? Like for
What kind?
Tom, but you know, for the
Oh,
highway
oh.
garage, could we make a phone call to them and say, hey, have you
What do
guys?
you guys, what are you using ARPA money for?
Yeah, you know, maybe we call other garages and I don't know, you know.
Have you heard anything?
The Janesville facility's not that old, so I haven't heard of it in
What about-
Janesville.
Anybody, any of
Where
the
do
other?
they want to build a new one somewhere though? Is that?
Yeah, I did hear something about they were building a new one. Not sure of the details on it.
Would Dave Knapp have any idea, you know, or a little bit more of an idea to help us where we could get help
Well, those
for
last two
the highway
grants,
garage?
yeah, the last two grants really don't apply to the county stuff. So,
Those are for towns.
yeah, just for towns and villages. So.
What was I- Oh, what, have you had discussions in your other towns about using those two? Like opportunities, like
Well, I'm already in the Main Street grant in the village of Tully, so
that's where they're, okay.
Yeah, they're so different than we are.
Yeah, I
You know
can't,
what
I
mean?
meant
It's so
more the
hard.
towns like
It's harder.
Fabius or the town of Tully or Lafayette or.
no, none of them right now are, they talked about it quickly, but they don't really have the business district.
Yeah,
You know, it's the have-nots that don't have it, that can't qualify to use the funding to improve. It's this, and some of the people at the meeting I was at today expressed that exact sentiment, that the big towns are gonna get this money and not the small ones that could really
Need it most.
use it. In different, I mean, the big towns are all talking about like adding to their rec programs and, you know, and all of these things that, you know, community centers, and wouldn't it be nice if we had a community
Yeah, that would
center?
be-
Lafayette's looking into a community center, but it doesn't appear it's gonna qualify for any of those, so
They said if you call it a senior center,
it might, huh?
it will qualify and then you can use it for other events. That's what they said today.
what about the other half of the fire hall, the fire department up in Pompey?
That,
Could we
that
switch
building
it and
needs
make it?
so
That's what I mean.
much work.
Could we make it as a community center? Could we? I don't know.
I mean, the
have no
part,
idea.
that's the gym and
Yeah,
the bar
yeah, this
area
old
and the,
School.
yeah. Well, the school is gone. The backside is.
Yeah, that's-
Well, all the classrooms are downstairs.
They're all
Those are all gone.
They're gone completely?
Yeah.
Yep.
What is it downstairs?
Some
Nothing?
concrete.
Okay.
No, they took it all out.
Okay, so what about upstairs with the kitchen and the different?
They don't, I don't think the fire, I mean, that fire hall needs so much work,
Yeah,
so much work. And I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I do think it's sitting there. It's got that huge field out back that basically goes unused except for the swing set, the playground
Right.
area.
Mhm.
And especially if they don't hold the field days anymore. And but I don't know if it's worth, it's the fire.
Well, we would,
district,
yeah, it's the
right,
fire district owns it, so
Yeah.
they could probably actually apply through us for the Main Street one.
I don't think they're considered a business, so I don't think they're
Yeah.
allowed. That's the one that's the one thing I think I took from that was the fire departments wouldn't be able to benefit. That's the thing about these, it's like,
there's so many different loops.
I know, and you think
Yeah.
you've got a great idea and then
Yeah.
and then something squashes it, so. But anyway, I will get some answers on some of things we talked about, but I think the Main Street idea, if they would, he said the Hamlet would qualify. So, and the Hamlet, if I look on that, the zoning map, I mean, it goes out on the other side of Route 20, so, yeah. And there's Hamlet Commercial. So I don't think Main Street has to literally mean like
Adjoining.
storefronts next to each other on a nice, you know, quaint street where with parking. I mean, that would be lovely, but I also think that what we have is our Main Street. That's the best, you know, that's the only real business area we have in the whole town.
I'm sure if one of those businesses wanted to improve the the look of their building, they would get that Main Street grant.
I think so too. Well, if
What about all, like even for the Dollar General, when you drive up to the Dollar General, it looks
the
like,
front.
Yeah, the
it's,
front of
it drives me crazy. It's so unkept and
I
I'm
know,
like,
mow the
oh,
lawn or something.
Well, it's that rock area
Yeah.
that just
Yes,
is
yeah.
very.
Horrible.
The retention area.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
Water
Yeah.
quality on there.
Well, I mean, I think if they give us enough time on that one to network, and that's what I said today at the meeting. I said, this is no time. We don't have any time. I said, this is coming up on budget season and, you know, we've got to come up with our budgets but we need to talk to our businesses. And I mean, luckily, we don't have a ton to talk to
Mhm.
in that regard. So it's not like we have a lot we have to approach, but I think we should be approaching them to see if there's even any interest. There might not be interest.
Yeah.
But if there is, I don't want to not give them the opportunity to. I mean, I don't know what the Pompey Mall needs as far
There's
as.
something about Pompey Club up there.
Yeah, put the pool back in at the Pompey Club and let the community use it.
Who's that?
Is that Stanley? Stanley.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Thank you, Stan.
Not a bad idea at all.
Great.
Could that fit on that's not Main Street though. Where can we put that? It's not Main Street.
It's health and wellness though.
It could it go in ARPA?
Wouldn't that be a great idea?
Could that, so how would that, when we'd have to, Stan, we have to talk to you because I don't know how that would work.
That would be a
How we
good
would,
idea.
would that be,
Because the parks have to be owned by us.
well, that's where I'm going with that. Is like, I don't think, I'm not gonna get into a discussion with him virtually about,
Yeah,
are you gonna give us the land? We can talk about that like privately at least, but I do think that's an awesome idea
Yes.
to put a pool here
well, it
someplace.
says right here, municipalities work with businesses to develop proposals.
Yeah, but that's for Main Street.
All right.
It's gotta be the business district area. That's
Okay.
not kind of,
So you got
but
to
ARPA,
back up.
I'm
to the
wondering if ARPA is where
Yeah.
that fits.
Good idea.
Yeah. And so, is there anything else up there? What does that say?
No, he just says he's interested and thank you.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything on Facebook? Has anybody else weighed in?
No, well, we haven't asked for public comment, but
Oh. That's true.
there's nothing on
Getting ahead of
Facebook
yourself.
right in the moment.
Well, why don't we see if there's anybody that has an idea? There's another comment up there. I can't read.
Something just came in. I'm at Pompey Club every day that ends.
Why?
Would love to talk about any of this.
Okay,
That's still from Stan.
okay, awesome. I'll be up.
First, you gotta find the rule that allows you to do something.
Well, it's still worth a
It's worth
discussion
the
at this
discussion.
point, but you know, and
There's not a lot in here, at least on the June 24th one that
but-
like allows that.
but the ARPA one, it's all about access to parks and like outdoor recreation because they want to keep people outside and, you know, so a swimming pool would,
But it has to be public access. It
yeah,
couldn't be private access.
no, that's why,
That's why we'd have to talk
Yeah.
about that one a bit.
yeah. But he's thrown it out there and right now it's not a pool. So it's a thought. I would welcome if anybody wants to weigh in virtually. We have no one here. So if there's anybody on Facebook or Zoom that has a comment about this, or at this point about anything, because we might as well just go to public comment.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about our fund
Oh,
balances
yes,
at
yes,
all?
yes, yes. So while everybody wants to weigh in, while they're thinking about it, what they want to say, let's look at this.
So I've just updated this a little bit from what I sent you out earlier in the year because we've changed some of the funding. I kept the appropriations the same. That's in the bold print there for the 2022 budget estimates as they were for the 2021 budget. We've rolled the surplus towards a truck, and we also appropriated the additional surplus towards the new equipment and the transfer to reserve. So the highway doesn't really have any extra surplus, but currently the general fund has about 180,000 that would be unspoken for. Some of the items are the same as what Renee had. We have 20,000 in the budget for current budget to be spent this year for the heating system. 7,300 for the windows that need replacement, 20,000 for the salt shed and garage roof repairs. The JCAP, we have 64,000. We've purchased the
6,400.
or 6,400, and we've purchased part of it, but we have to get the fire alarm in pretty quickly because we're
Yeah.
gonna run out of funding time here. We already spoke about the oil and water separator. We talked a little bit about the parking lots and the drainage. Now, we have some surpluses coming this year that we have only partially addressed. The unemployment refund of 23,000, we used 10,000 towards the LED lighting project, the townwide project. We are currently up 13,000 on the mortgage tax. That's over the entire budget, and we get a second payment later in the year. So we have a possibility of having an additional 150,000 there. And then, of course, the ARPA money that we've been talking about, we do have the 371,610 in the bank right now. So the other 13 that's on the unemployment fund, the other 13 that's in the mortgage tax, those do not hold any special rules and regulations other than our procurement policy. And the 180,000 is in the same category. So if there's these projects, if we need to get them done, we should, and they don't seem to qualify for anything else.
Use that.
Yeah,
This money should be used because if we return it to taxpayers, we're not going to have this again.
so we should use.
We should use it for a one-time project, or we can transfer money from the general fund to the highway fund. So if there is a piece of equipment that we need to fund in the next budget cycle, we can transfer that money to the highway fund as well. So right now, there's roughly just over $200,000 there in the general fund that's unspoken for at this point, that we can move rapidly on.
Transfer to the highway department will help catch up on when we took from the highway department from
Yep.
a lot of budgets and
Yeah, but it shouldn't go just to general
No.
repairs or something. It has to go to a specific project. I think something that's a one-shot deal. This is one-time money.
Either that, and I'd like Tom to weigh in on this, that, or we start setting up some reserves towards these pieces of equipment, which is why I gave you guys the equipment list. That are, most of them are past their useful life dates and, or years and whatever. I'm just throwing that out as an alternative to what you're suggesting.
Yeah, I don't see reserve, putting it in a reserve would be the same as putting it towards a specific piece of
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah, it's just that it can't be taken.
It can't go to day-to-day expenses because we'll have to fund the day-to-day expenses in the following year.
Yeah,
So right now, we have about 24,000 in the highway reserve for equipment. We've scheduled to add another 40,000 at the end of the year. So we're gonna have a little bit over 60,000 there.
And on the equipment list that we get with the payloader we're looking for in 2022. It's a key piece of equipment.
How much is that?
I have an estimated 250 grand on it.
I think,
what about the, how much is the roof? I mean, why can't
we don't even know yet. You mean as far, the salt farm
sunset
roof
roof,
or the original roof?
the garage roof that he needs repaired?
We have no estimate on that. That was just I talked to the board the last 2 or 3 years, just start the planning, working towards that. Which we did put some away last year.
We've had
Right,
20,000 in the budget.
20,000, right, so if we put 20,000 towards the garage roof, should we get an estimate on the garage roof? Because Renee, you were saying it's pretty detrimental at this point, right?
Well, the salt shed roof is more important at this point, correct, Tom?
And that is still, we were still working with the insurance company on that. They were gonna reach out to Joe's off, which is the Onondaga County contract, and trying to negotiate a price with them. So I should hear before Monday back from them.
That would, if we could work that out, we wouldn't have to bid it out. And that would save significant
Oh, that's
money.
good.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
may need some of that 20,000 as well.
Yeah, I'm just
Because
saying,
insurance
that was,
isn't gonna cover
an
everything.
incentive to try and go through, piggyback off the county's contracts, is that we wouldn't have to pay because that, if you recall, we did get a quote on what the engineer's cost would be for that project, and it was
Over
like 24,000.
25,000.
Yeah, it was.
For the
Just
salt shed.
Just for the
Yeah,
engineering.
just for the engineering to repair the roof. So if we could avoid that cost by going with state contract or county contract or whatever. So hopefully, I mean, I would think our insurance company would want to do that. So,
And we've been going back and forth because when the first bids that got the quotes that the insurance company went, that was pre-COVID. And obviously COVID prices were sky high.
Uh-huh.
yeah, well, hopefully.
So they revisited it, and then I've been corresponding with the insurance company, and that's the last got was like working with Joe's All, which is the county contractor. See if they can meet a price. So,
So what about the garage roof? Because you said that's pretty bad and you really need it.
yeah, we've been
replaced.
sealing it for quite a few years now, and it's just obviously getting worse. I mean, it's original, so. But I just brought it up to the board and we put in 20 grand towards it, so I have no estimates for that roof.
Should we maybe get one and could you do that? And do you have enough time to do that right now?
To get estimates,
Yeah, just to see where we're at with that. Because we put the money in, so maybe just,
Would Joe Saul give, or whatever the name of
would
that
they do that?
county company
let's
is?
see if he's covered under steel roofing.
Because if we could use them again for that purpose, we wouldn't have to bid it out and,
Save us a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me look into Joe's All tomorrow on that, see if they do metal roofing. They're under the metal roofing contract.
Okay,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, thanks.
Is that that's a metal? Obviously,
Yes,
now that I think about it,
Where
that was
the,
a stupid question.
slot burn.
Do we know where we stand on the window replacement?
I was just gonna say, we're not gonna spend anywhere close to that amount of money
I
because.
know, but we want to get it done soon, don't we?
Yes, because Bob took a look at those windows in there and where the drafting is, in his opinion, it doesn't require this whole replacement, which is why it was so expensive, that estimate. So I think between Bob and Tim, I can still hear them here, so we can see what they think about the windows in there, and let's get that done.
What about,
But I don't think it's gonna cost that much, and then we could put some of that money, if we needed to, towards our share of the water treatment, so that the county would, we would,
Say that.
yeah, we'll come up with a match.
are Nikki's windows okay? Because I remember a long time, right?
That's the
so
one we're
Nick- that
talking
would-
about.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Bob and Tim, so I didn't,
Oh,
we were talking about
I
Nikki's
meant,
office. Gotcha.
they've looked at them.
Okay.
But how about Larry? Is he having this?
His are horrible.
Okay. So I don't know.
Because all four on that side, we've replaced these two.
Yes, I believe we
We
did.
did. Fred put those in.
Okay.
Yeah, he came
But
over to
Larry,
my office
we
this
did that
winter
and-
and said his hands were so cold that he could barely write. They were
Who?
like freezing.
Larry?
Larry's hands.
And see, I was asked if how my space was when I've been here, because John's doing the benchmarking. And I haven't had an issue, but it's been out here. So I think that,
You're in a different zone.
yeah,
where
a
you
different
are.
zone and the windows,
Oh,
the windows.
Right.
So we'd have leftover money and you're thinking,
I'm thinking we're not gonna need to spend $7,300.
right.
So we might be able to put some of that towards the water.
It'd be nice if we could get a low enough number that we don't have to get a whole lot of quotes.
Yeah.
Just get them done.
So when we adjourn, I'll go talk to Tim and Bob. They're still here.
If they give specs, would you be interested, Carl, in trying to track down the contractors to get it done? Like you, I mean, when we give you contractors to
Yeah.
track down, you get the job done.
I
You
know.
got a new floor in the schoolhouse.
They can handle it.
Okay.
Any comments?
There's one comment on Facebook from Greg Hurley. Madam Supervisor, will you offer a public apology to the residents of Pompey who, sorry, hang on. Public apology to the residents of Pompey who, due to your 8.1% tax increase, have experienced shortfalls in their escrow accounts, resulting in demand notices from their mortgage company. In many cases, this has cost any resident with a mortgage on their home a great deal of money, a great burden to our people in these tough financial times. It seems we're spending more time trying to figure out how to spend money being printed out of thin air than you are on the long-term financial burden your tax increases place on the residents of this town. Thank you.
Have no comment whatsoever.
All I have on Facebook.
So what would you have your GCAP grant 6,400,
Yes.
That's
That we have.
what we got
Total we
this year.
received.
right? So we need to take care of that. And the fire alarm, who's
That's
doing
Bob
that?
We
too.
need to get the fire alarm in quickly, yes.
Okay, okay. All right, so this is all budgeted money that we've already talked about from last year and got. Okay,
Thanks, you guys.
yeah,
For the
absolutely.
maybe 2 hours that we spent on this. I think it's helpful and gets everybody on the same, like, thinking about it. And then if we really could think next week, hopefully figure out what we can do with the last two on the list. We should be in good shape. So I guess we moved to adjourn even though it was a workshop, but we did other things.
I'll make a
so.
motion, we adjourn.
Second it. Judy seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Adjourned.